Welcome, Beard Brothers. We are on the podcast now talking about balding and everything of the like. So we have a Renze on the call now. So you're joining. We kind of talked about different questions that we've had throughout the week. But we want to just kind of introduce you and have, what's your kind of perspective on, hair loss.
Yeah. Well, similar to you guys, I try to make videos and make content about destigmatizing it. It's a part of life and it's nature. And not that I have any quarrels against people using, medical therapy once we get into that stuff, like finasteride or minoxidil, but you should be okay with things changing in your life. And I feel like I also like to make videos about this stuff because I'm a young guy going through it, in my early 20s, and it's hard, to deal with it when you're young and all your other friends don't go through the same problems. But I feel like it's important for us to talk about these things and build a kind of community. So that's kind of my whole angle when it comes to the hair loss videos.
Yeah, and it's great to get that perspective because I remember having the exact same thoughts. So I started losing my hair in my early 20s. I'm in my 30s now. But everything that you're saying are thoughts that I have. Is like, why am I the only one my age going through this right now? So really, will be really great to get your perspective today.
So we actually could go through like maybe a question that we've gotten throughout the week. I think the
Sure.
big question that I think everyone wants to hear about is how is dating life being bald?
I guess I'll tackle it since I'm the new guy today. It really hasn't affected it like in a bad way. In honesty, like it's kind of helped it, which before losing my hair, I never would have thought that that would be the reality. I feel like when you lose your hair, it kind of pushes you, in my opinion, to focus on maybe other aspects of your, I guess, physical attractiveness that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have if, let's say, your attractiveness was carried by your hair and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I don't know. I really feel like there's so much more to a person and a person's attractiveness than what's on the top of their head, you know. But yeah, in my experience, it's been, it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you guys?
Yeah, so I'll jump in. So for me, so I'm married now, and I met my wife when I was kind of in the stages of hair loss.
Mhm.
And same as you, when I first started losing my hair and it became a reality for me, I shared this on our last episode, but there was a girl I was talking to before meeting my wife, and we were on camera like this,
Mhm.
and she saw like the top of my head and made a comment like, "Oh my God, is that a bald spot?" or like, "Are you balding?" or something like that. And it just had that like, oh, like, man, this girl that I'm talking to noticed it. So that's when it became a reality for me. And that incident there kind of really set me back in my confidence, um, because I was like, yep, every fear that I've had, she just like validated right there. But it turned out to be totally unfounded. It did hurt my confidence, which was probably more of a hindrance to my dating life after that than anything else. But after meeting my wife and we started dating, I became pretty honest with her about my insecurities about my hair. And she was like, "What do you talk?" She's like, "I literally never noticed your hair. Like it didn't matter to her at all." And I'm not saying it doesn't matter to some people. That might be a preference. But for her, it was such a non-factor. And now she actually prefers the look I have now after being, fully shaving the head. She much prefers this to when I even had hair. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, how
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, same
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I think I was on finasteride, so and then so I kind of just always had the hair that I have now. It's like kind of the receding Norwood 3 level. And right after my wedding night, actually, I shaved my head. Um,
Hmm.
and I just haven't gone back since. And my wife also agrees that um, looks better bald.
So what would you have, since you're kind of in that early phase now, you're in your early 20s dating right now,
Mhm.
for any guys out there who are struggling with this, maybe that is their kind of number one fear of like, am I going to be attractive anymore? Am I going to find, a partner? Do you have anything that's helped you just being in that stage currently?
That's a great question. It's hard to answer, you know, because everyone's predicament is different. Like
Hmm.
people always say, "Oh, just shave it off," and like sometimes it really isn't that simple for people. You know, hair is such a, you know, the black community, every community, it has a significant meaning, you know, the length, the styles and whatnot. But I truly wholeheartedly believe, like, as I said prior, there's so much more to what makes you, you, what makes me, than just this, and just my beard and just everything, you know? So I'd really urge people to just get comfortable with themselves, you know, like spend time with yourself, like figure out the things that you like to do by yourself and such and such and such. And like when it comes to meeting a person, there's always going to be people in this life that like you with hair, without hair, with abs, without abs. Like you're in some market, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like if you can internalize that and truly believe that, then you can have and do anything in this life, you know? So that's kind of what I'd say to give some guidance.
I like that. Yeah, I feel like you said, you know, shaving your head is an option. There's other options out there, but the one thing I like about the shaving your head option is it's one less thing to worry about,
For real.
right? And then you can focus on the things that you can control. If you want, you know, focus on working out, focus on improving your, you know, at your job or just, you know, self development. You can focus on those other things. It's
Yeah.
just one less thing, you know, not bottling you up.
You literally feel lighter, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like a lot more confident after I shaved my head. It's just like my weakness was like or what my perceived weakness was eliminated, you know?
hmm
So
So this might actually be a good segue into a question I actually got this week, which was, how can I help my partner who is going bald? If for somebody who's in a relationship, and maybe they see that their partner is struggling with it, what's the best way to support them?
Mhm.
And just because I've already kind of given this some thought, I can kind of kick it off. But I would say that you don't want to necessarily just ignore it and say, you know, if they express concerns about their hair loss, don't just say, oh no, it's not really happening. You know, you don't have to lie about it. You can be honest and say, you know, yeah, it is getting a little bit thin, but maybe, you know, I don't really care about it, or it's not a big deal to me. What is it about your hair loss that's bothering you? And just ask questions, you know, try to dive into what's the root of the insecurity, or what's the root of the issue. Again, you don't have to ignore it, pretend it's not happening, because that doesn't help the person. But you don't have to, you know, immediately make them fearful of it. You can let them know, like, hey, it's happening, but I'm okay with it. So let's talk about it. What do you want to do about it? Do you want to address it? Do you want to shave it off? Let's talk through the options there. Those are just kind of my initial thoughts. So
Right.
anything come to mind for you guys?
No, I mean, I'd agree. Whether it's been relationships, I'm currently in a relationship right now. And my girlfriend, like, she's been so supportive of it, you know? So I just want to chime in and piggyback that whole idea of being sincere, you know, showing care, not denying it, because that's only going to make it worse, you know, to be like, because if a guy is vulnerable enough, you know, to share with his partner that they're going through this, right? And the partner in their mind trying to have a good intention, but says, oh, it doesn't matter, who cares? Like, that's kind of, in my mind, that's kind of belittling something that is kind of world shattering, especially for a young guy, you know, you're, oh, girls gonna like me, guys gonna like me. So I wholeheartedly agree. You have to treat it with like sensitivity, you know, and be open to asking questions, not asking questions so you can solve the problem for him, but just learning about what is going through his head and why he's feeling this way. So I wholeheartedly agree.
I have a fun question. Did anyone ever trial run being bald? Like,
Trial and being bald. Yes.
yeah.
um, so I guess I'll segue this into talking about how I kind of arrived here, right?
Sure.
So I have always had like relatively thinning hair in the front, but it was dense enough to the point where I could do my hairstyles, right? And I really wanted to have, in college specifically, I really wanted dreadlocks for some reason. I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, Mom, can I have them, please, please? And my parents are African, so like, there's no way I was getting that. So college comes and I start twisting my hair and styling it, and it was fun. But the more and more you know manipulate hair, from in my case, the more and more it started to fall.
Oh,
So it got really thin to the point where I was like, well, I can keep doing this and losing more, or I can just shave it and see what I look like. So I'm like, you know what? I'll bite the bullet. So I shaved it off. Man, like, oh my God, like the Michael Jordan, like the dome slaps, those are plentiful. Those were very abundant, my friends. But like, it is what it is, you know? And although I was insecure about it, you know, again, because none of my friends really were going through something like this, I never really let it like keep me from living the life I wanted to,
Sure.
you know? But there definitely was a trial period, like for anything, where you try something, you're scared of how people are gonna react. But at the end of the day, like after a week, my roommates, after roasting me, after a week, they're like, "Oh, you look good," you know?
Mhm.
It's like, it's just life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what else is there after they give you, you know, a hard time about it the first time? There's nowhere else to go with it, right? Because
Yeah.
Yeah,
your look really isn't going to change that much from here on
Yeah.
out. So yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Just to answer the question, I never did a trial run because the only time I had cut my hair really short was when I was like second grade. I had like a buzz cut in second grade, and then I kind of grew it out to like a medium length, and then I had it like really kind of like shaggy in college. Like that was the look, kind of like the Justin Bieber of the at that time. um, and so because it had always been kind of long and shaggy, I felt like the change was going to be so drastic, that I was kind of scared to just take that like initial like, well, let's just try it out and see how it looks. So that's why I resisted it for so long until, you know, finally I took the leap. And just like you said, it, you know, the initial reactions, people when they see you are like, they're surprised because it is a bit of a shift in how you look. But yeah, a week later, people barely remember what you looked like when you had hair. So it was a pretty easy transition once I finally got to that point. Yeah. Galen, did you do a trial run?
Yep, college. I did it for Halloween. I like dressed up as a monk, so I shaved my head, and
Well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect way to try it out.
There's another one. It's like, how can I get honest advice if my hair is thinning?
My suggestion on that is to ask another bald guy, because I think people who haven't gone through it probably are more inclined to, you know, sugarcoat things a little bit and be like, oh, it's not that bad, or no, you're not really losing it. But somebody else who's maybe gone through it already might be more honest with you and understand why you're asking that question.
Yeah.
So that's my initial thought on that.
I agree. I feel like a lot of people, what they'll do is go on Reddit. You know, they'll put in the trustless forum or the bald forum, and like it's great because you can like get, you know, access to millions upon millions of people. But I definitely would suggest, if you do go that route, asking somebody, try to do it with someone like you're close to. You know, just because people online can be, as we know, you know, pretty wacky. But no, I agree. Definitely try to get some honest opinions, you know.
What do you think makes it so that people stress out so much about balding?
One thing I think, I don't know if this makes sense, but I feel like a lot of guys are worried about it because it kind of is the first way that most guys get introduced to their mortality, you know? Like, hair, as I said before, it's a big thing in life, and you know, it's a sign of like all the movie stars and Marvel heroes, ripped hair, everything.
Yeah,
you associate that with beauty and youth. And when you start to lose that, again, not by your own volition, you're like, what's wrong with me? You know, like you think I have a disease, something's wrong with you. Let me take this drug to fix it. You know, and again, like there's nothing wrong with taking it if you deem like there's something I need to do it safely, do the research. But my whole thing is, if people want to do SMP, hair transplantation, a hair system, why are you doing it? Like try to really figure out and zone in on that why, you know, otherwise, you know, but that's what I think the mortality is where it kind of really comes from. I don't know if you guys agree, disagree.
Do you ever all feel like it's all about body positivity until it's about the hairline, and then that's like the one thing no one touches, you know?
Yeah, it's true. that still is one piece that hasn't quite made it into that body positivity.
Right.
It feels like, and Arenze, to your point, I probably one of my most viewed videos was on the topic you were just talking about, which was how in TV and movies today, the main character, the hero of the story, always has like perfect hair, right? Unless it's, a Jason Statham, type an action movie. And then you kind of get into the other end of the spectrum where it's like this hyper masculine, super action star. But for the most part, yeah, all the main characters, heroes have good hair. It's very rare to see like a balding main character like that. That doesn't happen. So I think for most of us, because you can't help it, you see yourself as a main character of your own life. And so when you see other main characters from movies and TV shows, and you're like, well, why is this thing happening to me? That's not happening to these main characters that I love. And that can be kind of tough to cope with. And it does give you that question of like, well, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening to me? So I think society has kind of led that way. And to your point, Galen, it's the one thing that hasn't quite made it into that body positivity. Even though it happens to statistically, most men at some point in their lives.
Yeah. Was it like 60%, something like that, something really out there? Yeah. No, I feel like, to your point, I feel like a big problem with that is just a lot of us are terminally online, like we're always looking to see what's the latest in the news of Christopher Evans, what's he up to? What's this guy and this girl up to? Like we internalize the way they act and look and speak even, and we try to sprinkle that into our lives, but not in a healthy way, So it's just trying to find the balance of enjoying these things, but realizing you have your own separate life,
But their hairlines are mostly fake too. They deal with it just like we do. A lot of actresses have hair transplants. They just won't say it.
You're right. Yeah.
What a day!
You're right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's a really good point. But I think that kind of furthers the stigma that there is to balding. It's like, well, these actors feel the need because they're going to be on screen, which just kind of further emphasizes that, like, if you're out in public, you're out in the public eye, then you need to have, and it goes just beyond hair. Obviously, there's other body issues, weight and height and things like that as well that play a factor. But I'm sorry, Renzo, you were about to say something as well, I think.
Oh no, I was going to say, like, what a day it'd be if all the actors we know and love that we know for sure are taking some kind of muscle juice, that kind of stuff, all framed in that way, and then the hair stuff. Like, it'd be great if they could just say, yeah, I'm doing this, to be transparent. But I mean, if I was getting paid millions upon millions of dollars and I had to look a certain way, I'd probably do anything it takes to look that way. So I understand both angles.
So another question that came in that I thought was kind of interesting is, how do you know when it's time to shave your head?
I'll let you go first, Gil.
Oh, okay. Oof. I think this is a personal choice, really, and I know that's a cop-out answer, but I think when, hopefully, if you have a partner, then they can tell you, like, but even I had a choice, kind of, to be like, I could probably pull it off for a little bit longer, but at which point it's like, if it's holding me back in some way, I think the insecurity of just being able to eliminate that. I think what people don't realize that balding, and it's like just the being bald is okay, or having hair is okay. It's just the in between that people don't like. So just, pick one side or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess that is the challenging stage, right? Because it's not one way or the other. There is a whole spectrum in between having hair and having no hair. It's at what point along that spectrum do you say, okay, it's time to get rid of it all, or
Yeah.
Or oh, it's okay for a little while. Because actually, I got a comment in just this morning, kind of saying exactly that. That just because you're starting to lose your hair doesn't mean you need to immediately take that step and shave it all off, which is totally fair. So for me, I think the way I would answer that question is, if it's starting to consume your life, where you're at the point where you're constantly thinking about it, it's popping up on a regular basis throughout your day, where you're worried about your hair, you're worried about people looking at your hairline, or you're, for me, I know at work, I'd be like literally going into the bathroom, even if, just to check the mirror, just to like make sure my hair was looking okay. So at that point, I was like, it's really starting to take control of my life in a way that it shouldn't. And that kind of helped me realize, okay, it's probably time. But to your point, it is a personal choice. It's, no one can just say, all right, you're at the point now where you need to shave it all off. I think you need to determine how much it's consuming you mentally, because I think I'm speaking for all of us. Once I took that leap and shaved my head, all concerns about my hair like disappeared. It was, I haven't had a change like a mental change like that so quickly, any other time in my life.
I will say this, in my view, there's one instance where an external person can really influence your decision to go bald. And in my experience, that's been when I went to the barber. And I had the worst lineup I've ever had in my life. Like, he had to spend 20 extra minutes putting like the fiber, the topic stuff, to get it all lined up. And I got home and I'm like, bro, what did I do? Like, this is not, I could have done this with a Sharpie. Oh my God. And then, like, seriously, to your point though, like, I remember times where I was still debating, because there was a time where the front was much more thin. So I had to use topic and stuff. And I'd done it, I think a couple of hours before I went out with some friends, and a friend of mine noticed and said, wow, your hair looks like so much more dense. And obviously, I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah, just using some derma rolling, some oils. But it's like, I knew why it looked like that, right? And like, to me, it felt like I was being disingenuous.
Sure.
Not only to this person, but like to myself, because I knew it wasn't really me,
Yeah. Man, that is exactly how I felt. So I don't know if you knew this, Lorenzo, but I got a hair transplant when I was about your age now. So I was 24 at the time when I got it. And I felt I regretted it almost immediately because of exactly what you just said. I felt like I was being disingenuous, like I wasn't being my real self out in public, like I was hiding in some way. Part of that was because I tried to keep it like a secret, like I didn't tell very many people that I was doing it, and so I just kind of felt like I was living a lie a little bit. And again, after shaving my head, then I was like, I just felt like I was, all right, this is me. This is me when I'm out in public, when I'm talking to people. I just felt like more my authentic self.
How was the experience of that transplant? You said you were around my age. Like, were you weary about taking things like finasteride? Like, I guess.
Yeah, that was one of I took finasteride for about 6 months. I think Galen and I talked about this a little bit on the last episode, but I was actually really fearful of the side effects. I didn't experience any myself, but I was online, always, doing research, and, I heard about some of the scarier side effects that, even though there's a small percentage chance that they could happen, I just didn't want to take that chance, knowing that they could set in at some point down the road if I continued to take it. So that scared me enough to stop taking finasteride. And then it was kind of from that point on, my hair continued to get thinner and thinner, especially in the back, which is where it's most noticeable now. And finally came to the decision that I didn't want this to continue to run my life. I didn't want to be stuck taking medication. And I think, Galen, you had a similar kind of revelation, right? Because you were taking that for 11 years, I believe.
Yeah, that's right, 11 years. And yeah, I just realized it's like, I'm gonna have to take this forever. And it's not like it's not expensive as like it used to be anymore, but it's not cheap either. you know, before it used to be like $50, like over $50 for a month's supply. And it was just, you know, you do that. It's a subscription for hair for life, you know. It's I was like, I don't want to keep paying this.
Especially when you're younger too. It's
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I got the side effects. I suffered some really bad depression, and it wasn't until like 6 months after I stopped taking it that it's like I just woke up one day and it's like, whoa, you know, I feel significantly different. Like I felt like a fog had been over me for a decade. So yeah.
Do you ever miss your hair?
I guess I'll tackle that. Sometimes, you know, like because my career as a bald guy has been relatively short. You know, I had hair like a couple years ago. You know, I like doing braids and whatnot. But again, like it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like it's okay for things to change. You know, just because I lost my hair, like I gained something else. I gained a new like form of confidence in myself. You know, and
Yeah.
you know, like it is what it is. I mean, and I always tell my friends and my girlfriend when I talk to her, I'm like, maybe, I don't know the future, maybe in the future you can take some magic shot and it'll give you all your hair back. I don't know, but
Sure.
even if I do that, I want to be confident no matter how I look. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually did a trial run of having hair after shaving my head. So I had shaved my head for like a year, and then I let my hair grow out for like 3 months. So I essentially had the hair again, and I was like, I started fussing with it all over again. So then I shaved it, and I just like, you know what? It's not meant for me. I think that, you know, I really enjoyed not having hair and walking out in the rain and not worrying about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I don't miss it at all. It caused me so much anxiety. I mean, even when I had hair and I hadn't even really started losing it yet, I remember like messing with it all the time, just like you said, Galen. Like I was always fussing with it. I never thought it looked the way I wanted it to. And then when it did start falling out, when it was receding and thinning, my anxiety just went through the roof. So it really has never caused me anything but anxiety. So I don't miss it at all.
Yeah, for real.
Well, this was an awesome chat, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.